Okay. Oh, no.
I remember you told me that, so I was like,
Yes.
I want to call the meeting to order. Julie, would you call the roll, please?
John Bartlesmeyer,
Here.
Jim Hewens,
Here.
Dave Elliott,
Here.
Kurt Hart,
Here.
Ryan Holt,
Here.
Robert Nelson.
Here. Stand with me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Call to order, comments from the chair. I do have some comments tonight. I would like to say to the administration and teachers, everybody that's involved with community college, I hope they have a merry and a safe Christmas. And I can't thank them enough for all the things they do for the college. It's just a fantastic organization, especially the maintenance people, and just I'm sure it's a never-ending thing. I mean, they just go on and on and on, and things happen and break. I just want to really comment that I'm proud of them and what they do for the college. And they're kind of like behind the scenes, and we just need to recognize them and administration and the teachers for everything they do for the college. That's my comments. We have no comments from the public. Next item is consent agenda. Dave?
I'd like to move that we amend the agenda for this evening under item D. Excuse me, that's not correct. Where does it go? Sorry, I gotta get to the right page. I was not on the right page. Under action and discussion items, I'd like to move that we add 2 items underneath A. One being consideration of CTEC sublease agreement, the other being consideration of donation of items to the legacy group.
Do we need a motion to?
I did, that's what.
Okay, all right.
I second that motion.
Well, say that second part again.
Consideration of donation of items to the legacy group.
Okay. Approval of minutes of previous meetings. Attached are the minutes of the regular board meeting conducted on November. We need to vote. But I'm sorry, yeah, we've got to vote. Yeah, we got to vote. Yeah, I apologize. It's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote, please?
Elliott,
Yes.
Hewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yeah.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yeah.
Bartlesmeyer.
Yes. Okay. Dave, would we insert that? Would that be after item D on the consent agenda?
No, that will go when you get to action discussion items. It would be items B and C.
Okay, and that's on page
Just first page.
52 is where it was where A is.
okay, all right, thank you. Okay. Feel free to stop me anytime if I get off track. Okay.
No problem.
I thought you'd say my pleasure. For that. Okay. Approval of minutes of the previous meetings attached to the minutes of the regular board meeting conducted on November 21st, 2022. Approval of the treasurer's report, bills and claims attached are the treasurer's report and the bills and claims report. Approval of personnel actions. Additions, Jolene Anlet and Nitz and Ms. IADOE MEP is the regional recruiter effective January 2nd, 2023. It is recommended that the consent agenda items be approved as presented. Is there any discussion?
Just a bit of a clarification, that's the Iowa Department of Education, and that MEP, of course, is the migrant education program. We run that program. So
Thank
if you
you
look
for
at
that.
that and you're like, what?
Iowa Department of something,
Education.
I don't know.
energy or something. Any discussion? I will entertain a motion. Okay, it's been moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
As a. No, that's already been done by Dave. That's the next items. So, Julie, I'll call for the vote.
Hewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yeah.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Now, you say it's 52. There we go. Now, Dave, should I go ahead and do this one, and then those two we've added would be B and C, is that correct? Correct. Thank you. Appointment of Title IX Coordinator. Every recipient of federal finance assistance must designate and authorize at least one employee to coordinate its efforts to comply with its responsibilities under Title IX as the Title IX Coordinator. This role has previously been filled by Janet Fancher, Vice President of Student Services, who is retiring from Fort Scott Community College at the end of 2022. Administration recommends appointing Tom Haveron, Vice President of Students, as the Title IX Coordinator. Okay, how do we record that as boo-hoo? Okay. Discussion. Then I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Would you call for the vote, Julie?
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Hewens,
Yes.
Okay.
So B is gonna be your sublease agreement.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I know. Yeah, I've got that here. I'm sorry.
I passed those out, but you've got the ones on the legacy group.
Yeah, that's here. This one, you want, this one would be B.
That's A.
Okay, this is A.
That's B. I apologize.
Okay.
But we're gonna do this one first.
Okay, B, okay,
Sorry,
and you were
I'm
going to,
confusing you. I'm sorry.
I'm more
Yes.
confused, so it's okay.
Shall I go ahead?
Yes, please.
So the sublease agreement, this is something that kind of slipped my mind. As you know, the way we pay the lease at the Crawford Tech Ed Center is to pay a portion of the director's salary. That director is now Tommy Myers, excuse me, who began October the 4th. And so the CTEC board is actually meeting Wednesday morning. So I should have had this done previous. So I updated the lease. If you'll look at page 2, where it says lease agreement, we are the leasee, we meaning Fort Scott Community College, shall employ the director of CTEC for $33,440. That, as well as all of their benefits and withholdings. And in addition, they can apply for professional development monies as guaranteed to and contracted for other employees. The leaser, which of course is the Crawford Tech Ed Center Board, They will pay $42,560 for the director's annual salary, and that's, we pay in installments of April 1st and November 1st. So other than that, everything in there is exactly the same as it was before. We invoice the Crawford Tech Ed Center for the amount that we have paid towards their portion of the director's salary. Now, it won't be too much this time because he did not start until October the 4th. And so what we do is we just, Julie McDaniel, it's not me, prorates that and then pays them on that. Well, we invoice them in this case, we've already paid, so we invoice them for that portion of the salary. This lease then will be updated again, usually July 1st, it runs through the end. We typically wait until we see if our faculty and staff have received any raises. And so they are also eligible for any raises we get. Now, whatever raises the CTEC side gives, that's up to their board, which I do sit on. So that's all as far as the syllabus.
And with this late start, that's part of why this has been delayed, because we were waiting for that position to land.
So it's just an update, and I wanted to get it approved tonight. I didn't realize until today, so I apologize for the lateness of it. But the CTEC board meets Wednesday morning, and we will send them. Well, we've sent them this contract to sign, and also we will invoice them for what they owe us for their portion of Tommy's salary. So that's our lease.
Is Chris on the CTEC board?
He's not.
Okay.
The only representative from Fort Scott Community College is me. So the board down there consists of this 5 superintendents from the school districts. We also have a representative from St. Mary's Colgan, but he happens to be on. I don't know how come he represents them. He's not one of their administrators.
No, they don't have a traditional school board. They have
Yeah,
kind of a board of directors. And
So anyway, there's a little bit different. A county commissioner sits on there, or somebody that they appoint. The Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce sits on there. And of course, the Kansas Crossing Casino, they also have an individual because the money that they give, they support. That's the CTEC board. There's also somebody, Mark Johnson is
Business
on the
Education Alliance, Pittsburgh.
the Business Education Alliance,
And
is
Pitt
also-
State has a seat on the board.
which is Mark Johnson, and Pitt State. Actually, Mark Johnson also works at Pitt State, but his board membership is because of his Business Education Alliance. It's a rather big and unruly board. They work great. It's like any board, though, there's a lot of members. That, you get a lot of members, and it can be a little more difficult, not for me, but for the directors to manage. So,
We need do we need just a motion and a second to proceed with this? Is there any discussion? Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Sorry. Moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Hart,
Yeah.
Holt,
Yeah.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartles, Air,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Hewens.
Yes.
Julie, Julie, the person we get these two after these are signed.
you'll need to sign it, and we'll give that. Actually, I thought tonight we would give the hard copy to Chris, and so he can take it to Tommy, and they can have it Wednesday morning.
Okay,
at their board
but
meetings.
you and I need to sign this. You want to do that? Is that
Yeah.
okay? All right. Okay, here, let's pass these through Robert and Jake one and give it to the other.
We only had 3.
Well, no, to these two board members over
Oh,
here
I'm sorry.
and we have 2 board members on this. Okay. I'm having a hard time.
You're fine.
No, why? Sorry. This is about.
Thank you.
Yeah. It didn't take very long to read that.
Okay.
Oh. Well, this will be item C. Concerning the legacy group donation. And what we would like to propose for the board tonight. The Fort Scott Community College Board of Trustees approves the donation to the legacy group of items that will be identified by John Bartlesmeyer with Demco and any other board member that wishes to participate. I've already spoken to Lou. This is something that due to the time of year and the amount of work that I have going on right now, we're going to wait until after the first of the year to really address this. Yeah, after January 1st, 2023 is when I'll be able to really take to the time to do this. And again, if any board member wants to participate, let me know. We'll contact them. We can't have more than 3 board members that would want to participate in that, because that would be a violation of the board statutes. So anybody have any discussion, comments? I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote? Or do you want one of these copies?
That would be helpful.
Here, Julie.
So I write exactly what you're doing. I can catch up in just a second.
Okay.
Okay.
Now this has auditing out. If any other board member wants to participate, you can say contact me.
Okay.
And when did you say you're available? You do that?
Be after the first of the year. I've just got too many irons in the fire right now.
Ready?
Yes, go ahead.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson.
Yeah.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes,
Elliott, Hewens.
Yes.
thank you. Updates, administrative updates, Chris? Sure.
Sometimes I feel a little bit like a broken record, but we keep working on this CDL program and we're really making good progress. I found out today that Kansas Works would pay for students that if they qualify through Kansas Works, they pay the full 3,000 and travel costs. So like right now, we have a student coming from Chanute and they would pay for his mileage to and from. So that's encouraging. We're still waiting to see how the grant goes with Senator Moran, and that is Congress, so time will tell. But we're at a place where our truck is up and running. We found another trailer to replace. The one we have is just rusted out in key places, like right at the apron where the kingpin is it just wouldn't be safe on the road. So looking at what to do with that, but we'll get a new trailer to go with it. Making good progress on all that. Did our first workforce AID contract in that program with J&W Poultry out of Girard. They provide a lot of the chicken for Chicken Annie's and Mardos is what their role is, and they need a Class B refrigeration truck, and they run 3 loads a week of chicken, which is a lot of chicken in southeast Kansas. But Michael Clark, our other trainer, and I will start working on upgrading our licenses or finishing. He needs to have the passenger and school bus so that he can do the exams for those students. And then I need to get the Class A with a combination, but we're able to work with the Department of Revenue on that, which is kind of nice. So technically Michael can get his learner's permit and I can ride with him and he can ride with me. And then when we're ready to test, Department of Revenue will come to us and do the test with us in-house. So
Excuse me, you were talking about school bus. Didn't we have an agreement? Somebody was going to loan us a school bus to?
yes, so USD 250, and that's the next workforce AID grant I need to get rolling through the Department of Commerce.
And I apologize for interrupting you, but I thought.
So we're able to use USD 250 buses for that training. And that would be true if Fort Scott had a group of students, had 2 students, well, I would come up and run them through the training. If we could use one of their spare buses, which only makes sense because in that case, the school bus driver from Fort Scott doesn't need to know how to drive in Pittsburgh. I mean, you spend most of your time in this area, so let's drive this area. So
Okay.
that's one of the things that I think is really kind of cool with this program. While we're doing a lot of work at CTech and getting things going, once we're going, the ability to be able to kind of pack it up on the road is there, where if you have 2 or 3 drivers, there's no sense in those 3 coming to us down there, where we can come up here and we can bring the truck up. We can even leave the truck up here and meet them here and do our drive. And so I think there's a lot of things with this program that I think are real strengths, and that's one of them, is that ability to kind of move the training closer to those who need it, particularly if we have a group of them. Yeah, I'm working on a packet of information to try to help people know. We had a student that started, turned out he was red-green colorblind, and that's an automatic, you can't get your DOT physical.
Yeah.
So having those things listed out that I can email to prospective students to say, if you need all of these qualifications, medical and legal, now we're ready to take the next step. So been working on that. We did get any questions, I guess, about that CDL program. I'm excited that Kansas Works is able to pay for those who qualify. That'll be a big help to students. We submitted the ARPA grant for the heavy equipment operation last Friday. So we'll see where that goes. That went to the Department of Commerce. And then Adam and I have been meeting with Fort Scott High School. We met with them last week, and it was a great meeting. Their things are really moving forward. We're looking at getting the carpentry and finding a way. As we talk to them, it's like, what can we do that's going to work best for Fort Scott High School? And so a way to sort of phase it in. We don't want to leave the juniors and seniors that are currently juniors, seniors out, but at the same time, they need to step into it. So personnel wise, they can make sure they're growing with the program. But I think it's going to be a huge, huge positive as we move forward with it, because I think it brings added enrollment in that class for them, because the students will have, yes, I'm getting construction, but I'm getting a certificate with MCCR with Fort Scott Community College. It would step into the associates if I wanted to go that route. And that's a good incentive, a good pathway for high school students. So kind of running that through and seeing where we go from there. I think there's a lot of potential, but we want to kind of get this right and start moving, and they're on board.
And I'm going to jump in on Chris's update for just a second. We're also looking at a lot of other things beyond that as
Right.
well. So we're meeting with Fort Scott High School weekly. We're really moving forward and trying to get some different ideas just to get their students involved, and that relationship is really strong and it's building very quickly. So
Well, that weekly meeting, of course, my focus is a little bit more on the construction trades, but I know Adam is working with me current with English and math and those things. And so great communication, and they're going to be great to work with.
it's nice to go to the high school and see them wearing FSCC shirts.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so that's definitely
Yeah.
definitely a good thing. We appreciate
Yeah.
working with the administration there, Mr. Kimball and Destry and.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
excited about it. I think it's going to be awesome.
Is Michelle Lobenstein
She's in those as well.
a part of
Yes.
that? Because I've spoken to her about this several times.
Yeah, she's in all of those meetings as well.
Okay. Okay. Anything more, Chris? Adam?
Sorry for interrupting.
Okay.
Chris's,
It's a segue. It was the perfect segue.
and that knocks out one of the things I was going to talk about. So that's good. Just a couple of updates, and then I'm going to be real quick on my update, provided the written one this week. We're working on our quality initiative for the Higher Learning Commission, which is a big project that's going to focus on assessment. Next month, I'm hoping to bring the academic calendar to the board. So we're fine tuning a couple of things right now. And then the other item of discussion for the last week or two has been spring in-service, and that will be January 9th, and you all are welcome to attend spring in-service. And you see the tentative agenda on page 54 for in-service. And then the last thing I wanted to do is not in the report, but it's when I started here 5.5 years ago, I've been lucky to work with Janet for 5.5 years, and I do appreciate, we haven't always gotten along. There's no doubt about that.
right, he was always wrong.
That's not exactly true. We always thought very strongly, but it was, it's been an honor, and to see somebody that advocates for students the way she does, we've been lucky to have her. So I wanted to tell her I just appreciate it.
His heart for 3 sizes that day.
You came in the other day and I looked like.
I know you did.
So,
Thank you. That was nice.
And Janice, knowing that you're always right and I'm always wrong, you're very modest about it. Appreciate it.
I do what I can.
Okay, Janet.
Quick update on Bailey Hall renovations. We are still waiting for the glass for around the 2nd floor and down the stairway. The glass should be in this week and I believe installed next week. And then they will be able to work on the fire marshal clearance after that. The furniture is all in except for the 2 booths that go in that back corner, and those had to be special ordered, and those will be in hopefully by the 1st of February, and then that will all be completed over there. So that was a nice thing to have. Late Friday, Jared Keelan, our director of maintenance, and Mark, who is kind of the supervisor for MSI, called me to come out in the front lobby. And it was brought to my attention that the door that goes around that horseshoe desk at Student Services is only a fire suppression door and not a security gate that we can close every night. And we were all under the impression that that would be a gate that we, because I have, staff with their desks and their computers, and we have workstation and all of those things. And so after we met this morning in executive meeting, I called Lori, who is with the contractor or the architects. And she said, absolutely, it's supposed to be a security gate. So she's going to work on getting those things corrected for us, which was nice. She was very appreciative and glad that she had gotten that information. So those things are still in place. It still looks beautiful. It's still going to be a wonderful, wonderful area for students. And the student services folks love having that horseshoe counter. Marcus, who's the director of admissions, has kind of claimed that as his own. He thinks he needs that all to be his desk, which is fine. He can sit there and greet people. I don't mind. He's a good kid and does well with admissions. The only other thing I wanted to update today, we don't always share out our positive stories. And when we had our last conversation meeting, Holly Mason, who is the director of the TRIO program, shared a story from her students. They had the 1st generation student kind of celebration. And so they had been awarded some grant money through the foundation, the community foundation, and they bought prizes to give to their students during that celebration. For now, the TRIO grant is federally funded grant from the Department of Ed that serves 150 students per academic year. And those students have to be qualified. So to be eligible for that, they have to be low income, 1st generation college students. So no one in their family had been to college. And we're a documented disability. So these are students that truly need that support and that extra help. And so they had bought these really cool prizes. So the first place prize was a new laptop. And then the others were something called Rocket Books. I don't even know what those are, but they had those things to give out to students. Well, they awarded the prizes, and a student that won one of the books was grateful and thankful. He was really hoping for the laptop because he did not have a computer of his own. The student who was then awarded the laptop and won the laptop from the little giveaway they had, took his laptop and gave it to the student that needed it. And so I just thought that, and he's a very nice kid. His name's Javante. We call him Tuco because he's like 6'8". But he gave that laptop away to a fellow student that was in need. And I just thought that showed a lot of compassion and just kind of the heart that our students do have, and we often don't ever see that. So I thought it was pretty cool.
I'd like some kind of recognition. For
Javante.
yeah, that's probably
That's a very nice thing.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what to do, but is he going to be back as a student?
Yeah, he's also a work study for us over in the student services. He's a good kid. He works very hard too.
I just think people like that need to be not only called out like what
Right.
you said, but awarded somewhere.
He's good.
I don't know.
We'll talk to Holly so they can come up with.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Is this your last official?
Why, yes, it is.
I'll give you a hearty handshake.
Thank you, thank
I
you.
do appreciate everything you've done, Jen. You're just outstanding.
Thank you.
So,
How many years?
gonna be missed.
19 and a half.
Don't you wanna make it 20?
That's right.
5 is a nice round.
Yeah, no. No.
She really does, but the numbers just don't.
It just didn't line up.
I was thinking you came on back. Started.
Yeah. Yeah, probably so.
I heard you.
Yeah, I was a halftime trio advisor when I started.
for you.
Okay. Again, thank you,
Thank you,
Jen.
appreciate it.
Julie?
Not a whole lot extra besides what's on the written stuff that I put in. You know, like Janet giving an update on cafeteria, they've done a lot of demo and welding and it looks totally different right now.
It's a hot mess right now.
Dining hall. You know, I don't know what you guys did, but it's terribly hard for me not to peek in the door every day and see what's going
Oh,
on.
we did.
Did, okay, and I don't feel bad. Yeah, but that's going on. We've ordered equipment for the coffee shop over at Bailey Hall, the new one, and so we expect that in sometime between now and when semester starts, so everything's kind of moving along. A lot of what we're doing right now is surveys and winding up reports for either the Department of Ed, like financial aid is, that type of thing, or whatever we need to get on the business office side.
Well, I want to repeat that we got a really good report from
Yes,
Terry Surser at the O'Banley Bolton.
they
And,
all work very hard at that.
yeah, but you're to be commended too.
Thank you. They work very hard.
Don?
Terry also gave the foundation a good report on our audit as well, so. He didn't get that far by the time he talked to you guys, but we just got everything last week and everything was good on that side of things as well. And so we're happy about that. Main thing that I'm working on right now is revising our emergency action plan. And hope to be able to have a finished product to be able to bring you guys, not for approval or anything, because it'll just be minor changes, but just so you can review it and know what happens around here and the dominoes that fall when something starts happening. And so the foundation also wrote the college a check for over 100,000 last week, 2 weeks ago, to reimburse for the fall scholarships from the endowment scholarships. And so that's a very good number that we look to double in this next spring semester. And other than that, Janet, we'll miss you. I learned a tremendous amount, and I would say no one that I've had the chance to work with at this college or anywhere else has had the passion to fight for students like you. And I certainly learned a lot. Thank you.
Alicia?
Me last, but maybe least. So, of course, first and foremost, Merry Christmas to all of you. I hope that everybody has a safe and happy and hopefully relaxing Christmas vacation. Even though we talked about the fact that, you know, Christmas is the time of peace, but sometimes that's not always the case. It can be a stressful time, so sometimes it's important to take care of yourselves and try not to let it be as stressful as it sometimes can. I told the executive board day I read where they did an experiment with 6,000 mice, and the mice that got artificial sweeteners had more anxiety. Not true. You don't lay off that duck. Not true.
Review study, I saw it there. Review study.
That's right. So encouraging. One of the things that is hard to understand when we talk about community colleges, we have a lot of crazy things. Our funding is very convoluted when we look at how we're funded. And so one of the things that the state legislature did many years ago, just as it says in my report, is to determine who had what service area as far as community colleges go. Actually, universities have service areas as well that can overlap, but their service area is specifically their county, even though, as you well know, Regent universities do not have the ability to assess taxes as we do. But there were a few years ago service areas up for grabs, and a few people got those. For instance, one of them was basically the Big Red, the military base in Junction City. The Wamego area, that was also one that was up for grabs in some of the schools. This has been many, many years ago, it's applied to that. Like I said, our service area is Miami County up to Highway 68. Oddly enough, Johnson County comes down to Highway 68. And believe it or not, Lewisburg High School sits on the other side of 68, which can cause some problems for us because Lewisburg's like, but I want to go to that crowning jewel on the hill, Johnson County Community College. Even though, excuse me, Adam does a great job. They work very, very well with us and we appreciate what they do. And Johnson County Community College has also always been an amazing partner for us and we're very collaborative with them. So we have Miami County, Lynn County, all of Lynn County. Now, as it says, Miami County nor Lynn County, of course, pay taxes. Bourbon County is our taxing district and obviously part of our service area. We do a lot in Crawford County. Crawford County is not our service area. Anything we do outside of our service area, we have to ask for permission for every course, every semester. That form is sent to Kansas Board of Regents, who turns around, sends it to whomever's service area that is. And in Crawford County's case, it is Pittsburgh State University, who either signs off or denies it. We've never had them deny anything. Now, if we were trying to do something they're doing, they would deny it. But anyway, then once they approve it, then we receive state funding. If Pitt State were to say, no, I don't want you doing that, then we would be denied state funding for that particular program. The way it works for us is our state funding, as you've seen, and hopefully we'll have the annual report out to you in February, which is late, and I apologize for that, but with the changing of our strategic person, we've got Jared Dorsey working on that now, and Alan Twitchell, we will get out something that you guys will need. And, you know, I think that our constituents need to see, but typically we run, up to as close as 40%, which is more than most schools in terms of state funding. So it would be hard for us to run a program without any kind of state funding. Originally, it was set up where typically the state would pay a third of the cost of a student going to school. I'm just talking tuition fees, obviously not housing or anything like that. But a third, the state would pay a third, the students would pay a third through their own money, scholarships, or however that works. And then your taxing district, so in our case, the generous taxes of the Bourbon County people would pay the other third. That, though, has become such a convoluted formula that it doesn't work quite like that now. And each of the 19 community colleges can be very, very different in the way that they're funded and how, not the way, because the policies are the same, but in terms of the resources they have, the mill levies that they assess, and you can imagine it goes on and on. So just a little bit, that's just a little bit about our service area. Really, other than Crawford County, we don't do anything out of our service area with the exception of EWT, which is Environmental Waste Technology. We are the only place in the state of Kansas that offers that program. So we do take those workshops to many different places in Kansas. And again, if we take it to, let's say, Emporia, we have to ask Flint Hills. We have to ask whoever is in Emporia State, whoever happens to be in that area. So that's just a little bit of clarification about how that works. You wouldn't believe the paperwork that's involved just in offering one, EWT workshop. So as far as our off-campus sites, what I plan to do in January is to get you a cost analysis of those. To be honest with you, on some of them, it's changed quite a bit since we looked at that. We have more SB 150 money flowing, SB 155 money flowing into some. We have less enrollment at some, more at others. And so we're just gonna have to, I'm just gonna have to sit down and take a look at that so you guys can see it, because it is important. That kind of information is important to look at. It's important for us, it's important for you. So we will be taking a very specific dive into that, and I will be letting you know. If you look down at the grant report, you can read that we are going to resubmit a grant tomorrow. I just got an update from Ralph while I was sitting here. And that we had written a grant to add some welding booths. And that is what they call a Perkins Reserve Grant. And so we had submitted the grant back in September, but they said, hey, we're gonna have something else come out, so why don't you wait and resubmit, still under Perkins, but an industry, what's it called, industry?
Oh. They said it was-
Whatever,
Industry expansion. Yeah. Industry and labor force expansion. Thanks.
so we will be turning that one in, and that one is not identified here. It's due by Thursday or Friday?
16.
Due the 16th, but Ralph wants us to have it done tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
When is the 16th?
Friday.
Friday, okay.
That says resubmitted on there, December the 16th.
Oh, okay. So, just a couple other things, I will be headed to K-War. Adam will be there as well. I will be there Wednesday and Thursday. One of the things that's come up with the Kansas Board of Regents, and I will send you the update from the KACCT, which is the Kansas Association of Community College Trustees that I was just at. But one of the things that has come up is that K-Board itself is trying to run what they called an affiliation bill that would allow that. So when we talk about merger affiliation, to allow universities and community colleges to affiliate, which is a little bit different than merge. I don't think there's support for that particular bill. The way the bill is worded, it would be that, for instance, if our institution wanted to combine, let's say, with Pitt State, we don't, I'm just saying if they did. But if the Board of Trustees of Fort Scott Community College voted to say, yes, we want to do that. And Pitt State, of course, is under the Kansas Board of Regents, which is their governing body. You guys are our governing body. Then that could move forward. I still think there'd be a whole lot of hurdles in that because of the taxing authority, of course, that community colleges have, but they will be talking about that bill on Friday on Thursday, and I'm pretty sure that there's not support from the Board of Regents to take that across the street to the legislators. I don't know if legislators would support it or not, but anyway, it might be kind of interesting to see how some of that plays out. Of course, for us, I can't really see an advantage because we don't want to have, people paying taxes, but not getting the benefits, of that. But like I said, we also don't want to be obstructionist. If somebody else wants to do it and they want to affiliate, I don't see any problem with that. You know what I mean? So that's what the bill says. I mean, it'd have to be a vote of the board. And then the university would have to vote as well. So I do think we need to be careful, just as a community college group, to not just, like I said, be obstructionist for everything that comes down the pike, but we will see how that goes. Just a little bit about the Higher Learning Commission. We all got, and Adam will respond today, which I think is a good thing. In the past, as some of you know, we have been under an extension to allow high school instructors to teach concurrent, which concurrent enrollment is at the high school during the high school day by the high school teacher. And we got an extension to say that those teachers that have been teaching can continue to teach, even if they don't have a master's in their curricular area or 18 hours towards that curricular area, which has been crazy because as we have teachers that have been doing an excellent job for us for literally 20 some years, to say all of a sudden now you're not qualified to teach a gateway course, is just dumb. So anyway, I think after whole lots of complaining, and this started clear back, I think in 2013, when I got to looking at it. Now we did get an extension to 2025 because otherwise the extension was going to end next year. And so he will make some comments on why we believe that high school instructors did not have to have a master's in their curricular, which is almost impossible to find, especially in rural areas. And why would a teacher, which we can't incentivize really, go back to school to get a master's, let's say, in math, to teach college algebra? Not only that, in many cases, they would have to apply to graduate school, take the GRA, can you imagine? And, you know, just to teach with it, and they're getting ready to retire anyway. Of course, they're telling us, no, thank you, you know, I don't want to do that. And so we're hopeful that we're going to see some changes in that regard. It would be very beneficial, I think, to our high school
What's a
students.
GRA?
It's just the graduate admissions exam.
Oh, okay.
To some programs, you have to take that to, you know, you have to show them that you're gonna get in. And then some of the people at the universities are like, well, what if they really want their, you know, what if they only take a few hours but really want their masters and they go through this well, what would be wrong with that? It's, you know, people get upset about the smallest things sometimes.
Okay.
That's, I'm on this new thing about putting salt in somebody else's sugar doesn't make yours any sweeter, man, so stop it. Anyway.
I will.
That's this is the case. I think recruiting is going well. Connor is in here. Connor's our new livestock judging team coach. I know they said he's got more than 40 kids coming in for tours and stuff like that. Mark is our new director of admissions. I think everybody's working hard and doing well. So we're excited about our folks and appreciative of what they do. Thank you to Jim and Robert for attending the lunch. And I know the rest of you can't come, so it's not like, don't get me wrong, but we appreciate that. I think that it's nice that, you know, and I'm sorry you had to eat the same thing tonight, but
Again, sorry.
It tastes just as good as it did. the first time.
Or we'll freeze it and warm it one more time.
I
I'll
think
be
there's a
there.
bacterial issue. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, and then, of course, last, I too would like to add my congratulations to Janet. This is my 8th year. I've learned so much. You know, I learn something new every single day. And I can attribute a lot of my knowledge to Janet and her being able to guide me many times on the direction that we need to go. And that is so much appreciated. I feel incredibly fortunate to have worked with Janet, all of the people here with the board. It really is rewarding. And we will miss her, but I want you to know that she is, of course, going to be able to work with us some for the grants. And so that's just my only hopeful thing. Yeah, so we're still going to be able to do some work, and she's still going to be able to lend us her expertise and her credibility when it comes to working with all those migrant programs, which is, I think, essential to us landing a lot of these grants. And ever since Janet has been in charge of those, we have gotten many thousands of dollars more in that grant category. And so we're very appreciative of the work that she does. So thank you, Janet, even though we're still not happy about it. We will learn to live with it. But other than that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. I heard a rumor that the HVAC parts for Gordon Park Center are acquired. Is that true or?
Well, they're into the supplier, I believe,
Okay.
but they're not installed yet.
Okay.
But
One step closer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we don't probably, I mean, it's not an emergent. I mean, we would have liked it when it was hot.
Yes. Of
Well,
course.
it's supposed to.
Yeah, and now that you asked that question, can I expand a little bit on a question John asked me?
Sure.
John asked me about HVAC in Arnold, and Jared Keelan has been working hard on that. First, he had to talk to Evergy, who did agree to put in a new transformer. Is that right? Transformer, is that what I'm saying? And they put that in at their cost because, of course, when we get HVAC in, it will pull more electricity.
Yeah.
And so they will be putting that in. And so we will also be moving forward. You guys had approved that already, you'll recall, but again, we were kind of sitting on whether the transformer was going to cost us any more money or whatever. It did not. But once the transformer's in, I don't believe they've put it in yet, but Evergy did agree to put it in, and so we will be moving forward with that one as well. So hopefully we won't get held up with supply chain issues on that one.
My concern was that certain money had to be spent for a certain day,
It does.
Yeah.
June 30th.
something like that, yeah. I'm just trying to stay on top of that. For obvious reasons.
Might also just make a comment. I saw a graphic on Facebook about the economic impact of the college, which I thought was well done. Kudos to whoever.
That came from last year's annual report, so you'll see some more of those kinds of things.
Very good.
So, thank you. That was really Tom and Jared's idea, and they asked me, and I'm sure, so thank you, Tom, and I've talked about Jared, Dorsey, thank you. It's the stupid sweetener stuff, they say it also. Say all that stuff, too. I'm telling you, I don't have a problem with it. I don't take Prevagen, but I can't even remember to take it. So
She's developed the tolerance.
that's what I'm.
You gotta be like the tolerance.
You just might not. It's problem. You have to make it individual.
Yeah. I know.
I didn't ask Luke about it.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing. We got our fall GPAs in for athletics. Our overall average was a 3.15. For all academic programs, 11 out of the 15 programs were above a 3.0. Which is awesome. It's a big kudos to our coaches and our student athletes. Volleyball won this year. They got a 3.78.
Wow.
And there was probably about 50 or 60 people that had above 4.0 out of 300 athletes.
That's fantastic.
You say 300 athletes,
Yeah, 306 athletes.
306. I was gonna ask you how many.
And 23 or 25% of them are from Kansas. I did that math the other day too.
That's good.
So.
That is one other thing. Thank you, Luke. I
Yes.
wanted to talk. I had that down too.
We are way above the average.
I certified our fall census today with the Kansas Board of Regents, and Jacob Reichert and I visited because he is our institutional research guy and puts all the numbers together for us and does an excellent job. And so again, it's pretty complicated, but we do not roll students over to be Kansas residents because I personally think it's pretty unethical. But what happened was on our Kansas census, or I mean, our fall census, we were down in out of state. And so anything that we're down in Kansas Board of Regent red flags and sends us a question about. And so they said, well, why don't you count everybody in the dorm as a Kansas resident? It's odd because what defines whether they're a resident or not is actually a Kansas Board of Regents policy. At a university, you can never become a Kansas resident for the purposes of paying in-state tuition at one of the Regents universities. At community colleges, you can become a Kansas resident after 6 months. One of the things that a lot of people do to obtain that residency is they register people to vote. And Jacob and I were talking about this. We have a few community colleges that the reason their voter turnout is so low is because there's thousands of people on their voter registration that they only did to roll people to be a Kansas resident. Does that make sense?
Well,
And so so we sent that explanation back to the Kansas Board of Regents, like we don't roll people. So anyway, they have now changed the funding, which I think I talked to you guys a little bit about, and they will start recentering. Now, recentering means that we will get paid not since 2008 on block funding, but on the number of Kansas residents you actually have. So it would behoove us, obviously, to have more Kansas residents. What they're saying is you don't necessarily have to roll them over for this report. They just have to be a resident here in Fort Scott. So anybody in the dorm would count, but we're still not rolling them over, which I think is unethical because they're not Kansas residents. And so we quit that. several years ago.
We, Fort Scott Community College, or all?
Yes.
community
Oh,
college?
no, not all
Just-
community colleges.
Okay, all
I
right.
happen to know one that it's more than 20% of their enrollment. If they make them quit doing it, actually, some of them are more than that, that they're gonna be in a world of hurt when it comes to funding, but whatever. I testified, I think I told you, I testified to the Kansas Legislature Committee this summer, and it kind of got, the cat kind of got out of the bag, and the legislators didn't seem all that happy about it. So people that roll, because they didn't know. But for this particular report, part of the problem is, and this may be something I bring to you later, is our information system, which is called our ERP. I have no idea what that stands for, but it's the Student Information System is what I call it. I still call it the SIS, which is our POISE Gensibar system. Jacob explained to me today that because of some issues with that system, we, the students that live in the dorms, they have to personally update their address to the dorm. It doesn't make them a Kansas resident, but if they're living here for this report, I can count them as for this report as a Kansas. It doesn't mean that we're going to get taxes for them, but it also would mean something, it looks better. It just looks better. And so we may be trying to figure that out. I'll just tell you though, one of the things that we've been trying to save for is a new ERP, which is a new student information system. I think that we're one of 12 schools in the nation that still uses POISE that's not interfaced. And so it literally is typing in that old Mass-DOS, and it's difficult.
Using time cards are your.
And no, people that have the expertise to run it, which is also an issue for us. So we're worried, and Adam had the idea today, which I agree with in January. I think we're going to try to start some cross training, even though it's hard because we don't really have the time, but we've got to be able to cross train some people, because if we don't, we're going to be in a world of hurt if we can't. We pull data every single day for the feds, for the state, for K-Board, for us, every day, every single day. So it's really important.
Haven't we talked about that before, about trying to?
Yes, it's going to cost about 4 million now, and so at one point I'm probably going to have to run a certificate of participation. I thought we could maybe get some money together to do it, but
Only 4 million.
yeah.
In time.
Yes,
Does-
it's
does-
time.
Five years of time.
Does that,
Technology never
does
changes.
that get more
Yeah,
expensive the
exactly.
longer we put it off?
I think it's like everything else, that I don't know that, but I would say the answer is yes. It's not like hand calculators that went down. The first one that came out was $400, not and get them for $6. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think it's like.
for $1.
True.
These,
Sorry, I keep going on. So any other questions? Adam, you sit there shaking your head like, he always blames me for going way over my time.
I didn't think we had a specific.
Thank you, Sean.
All right. Anything else to come before the board? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
Right.
You guys want to take some food with you seriously? There's really no. Take some, please.
Yes.
There's some. screen message.
It was the best.
I've seen these.